Hello, welcome pen friends. Welcome to day 23 of me sharing my journey here on this Ink Journals Challenge, 30 inks, 30 days. So today I'm writing with DeAtramentis Document Fog Gray, and it came out of the Ink Flight May 2018. Gee, I just realized I'm dealing with only natural light, but everything is looking good, so I have an alternate up above if I need it, but let's stick with that, I guess. So today the first thing to do is put this little tester into the bath, and we'll see what happens. This does say that it's a document ink, so I would expect it to stay pretty steady, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so there's that. And yesterday it was Kaweco Ruby Red, and as you could see, it just it all vanished, even that cross at the bottom. There's just no trace of that, which is normal. That's normal, regular fountain pen ink. Is real water soluble. It just disappears. So let's get right into the Rhodia Gold Book, and then I'll explain why there's a different pen sitting here today. Okay, so here we are. Here it is for day 23, filling up very fast here. I did come in with a smaller paintbrush so that it still bled through, but not as badly as if I had used my regular paintbrush. So found out right away that this ink was going to really give me some challenges, but here it is. Oh, I didn't fill in here because I just didn't feel like ruining the next four segment spread with that bleed through that I knew would happen, but it is here for you to see on Tomoe River paper. And so just immediately I realized, well, I'm gonna bleed right through my nice Cafe Note book, so I changed. I had to find my finest nib, so I did end up changing into my Pilot Metropolitan with a fine nib, which is a Japanese fine nib, so it's very fine, more like an extra fine in some of the other pens. But this is the finest that I have, the smallest line that I have in the house. So I cleaned my Serendipity and put the ink into that pen. And that's the Retro Pop turquoise color is what it is. But I'm focusing, of course, on the ink, and keeping only one pen inked up, which, this frustrates me, but I really didn't want to be bleeding through everything I wrote on all day long. So I did do that. I found that this ink could be found at Goulet Pens for $12.50 for a 35 milliliter bottle. My first impressions really are that I like the color, but I don't like the ink because I don't like how it acts at all. It bled through some stuff that it doesn't normally bleed through at all in any of the other colors. But we did see that with Noodler's Bluebonnet too. I mean, these inks are special. They're waterproof, so you're going to be able to address envelopes, but you're going to have to really fight to find paper that it'll work on, although there is an option. The CVS Caliber paper was an option. It worked good. So that's pretty much the lesson that I took out of that was I won't be choosing document inks for a challenge like this again, because if you're going to commit to writing with one ink a day, you want it to be something that will be okay with your choice of nib, which for me would be medium or broad, so that I can also write letters. But I'm not going to sit around and worry about it all day. That's just the way it is. So let's look at the envelopes. I did write with both. While I still had the Serendipity, I wrote on all my test papers here, but I also did it with the Pilot Metropolitan. So this first one is the Claire Fontaine, and let's just cover that. And it looks good on that. It feathered a little with the broad, but it didn't seem to with that Metropolitan fine nib. So I mean, that's to be expected. It did okay with that. And then on the cheaper one, well, not so good with either one, but it's not as bad of a feathering with the Japanese fine nib, so that was okay. But you can see it's a nice color. It's pretty, and I've got some comparables that we could get into and maybe find something you'd like without that feature there, that waterproof feature. So this is the Leuchtturm, and it bled through this. Let's see if we can find it. See, back behind that Poussière de Lune, you can see the bleed through. It's not horrible. It's not like, it actually didn't yeah, it did about the same as the Blue Bonnet, I guess. But then with the Japanese fine nib, it didn't bleed through to where it would bother me, but I could still tell it was trying to. It's right here. It was trying to bleed through. I don't know whether you could see that or not, but it does show a little. It wouldn't have bothered me, though. I could probably deal with that. So then over here on, this was a surprise, okay? This is Clairefontaine paper, some of my best paper, and it's the Spiral Notebook. And it did have some bleeding on that, and I'll show you. It could be just a heavy shadowing, but to me, I didn't like it. And then it had light show through or bleed through, and we'll look at it with the Japanese fine nib. So, you know, it wasn't dramatic. Here it is. This was with the broad nib. You know, nothing dramatic, but that's pretty darn interesting and different. We don't normally see that with Clairefontaine paper. And down here, yeah, it would be acceptable. But I could see the hints of it bleeding through, and I wondered if I was taking my time pressing harder, it might do more. But that's not, you know, it's not terrible. It's just for your information there. Okay, so same thing on the Rhodia. On the Rhodia dot pad, which we didn't even see the noodlers barely. This was back before the first day. We saw a little bit of show through. It was a little bit more with the Document Fog Gray, I felt like. I felt like it's acceptable still. If you were writing in a notebook with that, you'd be okay. You wouldn't be distracted by that, I don't think. It was, of course, a disaster on Office Depot College Ruled notebook paper because, you know, it just, it went through, both of them went through. There they are down at the bottom. You know, and I wouldn't like that at all. That would mess up my next page. So that was just to, you know, to be aware of. But then we come over here on CVS caliber paper, and that might be the whole lesson for today, I guess. And because I could write letters, I debated just keeping the ink in the serendipity and following through with it. But letter writing's not the only writing I have today. I have journal writing and all kinds of stuff going on. So I'm probably going to either be having to do something else or be real unhappy. But on the CVS caliber paper, oops, I need to stay on topic here. No bleed through whatsoever. All of this ink shadows a little, but no bleed through, and that's, I don't know, that's really impressive. But I think the main reason that I switched into this pen with this fine nib was because of this notebook that I didn't want to destroy. I mean, I write in here every day to catalog my intermittent fasting, and I really didn't want to hurt it. So I ended up, and of course it doesn't do my handwriting any favors. I need a medium or a broad. Let me see if switching on that light makes any difference. Well, I think what that light may do today is just distort things. So, but we'll see. So here it is, having a sort of a recovery day today from the funeral yesterday and everything, but feel really good about things because I slept good and everything. So, and we'll be continuing on with this, but this didn't, it didn't bleed through with this nib, but there was no way I was going to put that broad nib in this notebook. That was my main choice for switching. Oh boy. So there we have it. Now, the fun part today really is going to be looking at what my process was for comparing inks. So let's get all of that over here. Got some interesting stuff to show you. So the first challenge, of course, was I knew that in order to talk about this and compare it with something else, I needed to find an ink that was also document ink or waterproof. Otherwise, the conversation wasn't really going to compare apples to apples. And that's okay, because sometimes I wouldn't even have one. But it turned out I did. I had, this is the DeAtramentis Document Fog Gray. And then, again, I'm wondering on I think the lighting is fairly good either way. But let me check real quick. I'm sorry, this might be... Yeah, I'm happy with having the light on for this. It kind of makes it a little more what it sees to my eye. DeAtramentis Document Fog Gray. Yeah, that's about where my brain is. And it compared well with Scribe's ink. And this was from the pen thing from Brian. It's a dark slate blue waterproof document. And if you remember on one of my other videos, that was the first bath test I ever did, and that was his idea. So this has been gone over with lots of water and the paintbrush, and neither one move around. And they're similar. I would say the dark slate blue is a little darker, of course, deeper color, but it's another ink that compares well. And then if we come over here, DeAtramentis Night Blue Sherlock Holmes, that gives a nice similar shade. It's a nice color. And yet you can move it around, and I don't think you would have the problems with bleed through, but I haven't tested it yet, so I can't swear to it. But that's the same brand ink, just non-permanent, and then this is the document ink. Yeah, I can definitely say it's non-permanent because it did move around with the water. But let me show you this here may be even more interesting at this point, because this is what I went through trying to discover, okay, what are we going to compare this to? And I had one that had a bad blemish on it, so a little piece of paper I sacrificed. So these were the ones I thought might be close, and in fact, it was between DeAtramentis Night Blue Sherlock Holmes and this one here, a Caran d'Ache Magnetic Blue, about which one was going to make this little panel. But for me, if I was trying to determine, I wouldn't be buying the Caran d'Ache because it's more expensive. So that's the only reason that one didn't come on to the panel, and DeAtramentis did. Now over here, the Fountain Pen Revolution Blue Black was really pretty, and it's a lot darker though, so it didn't compare to today's ink as well. That's the reason why that one didn't make it on the panel. And I had thought originally of putting all of these three onto this other blue one, but we're still not in the same family. If you could see, this is today's ink way over here to the left. We're just not getting much of a comparison here. The Vert de Gris, the J. Arbonne, is way too green. And then, you know, just not, even the Bad Blue Heron is too bright and lighter. But it's also nearly waterproof. I mean, it moves around just slightly. So you could see that I didn't really think it belonged there. So I want to leave this kind of free floating on this one, and it could be compared, you know, used everywhere. So that's what I came out with. It was fun doing all this initial stuff. It just became not fun whenever I realized my broad nib on the Serendipity was going to bleed through everything. And I unfortunately didn't have oops, sorry about that. I didn't have a fine nib to just pop into the Serendipity, because I do have a number 6 fine nib, but it's stuck in a pen that I cannot pull it out. I know it's pullable, I just can't get it to happen. So, because that would have been really nice to continue today with. And if I do letter writing, I'm going to have to clean this one out probably and just go back into the Serendipity with this same ink. It's going to be a weird day, but, you know, it's been a weird week and a weird weekend, so that's all right. It's learning, and learning is always good. Even though sometimes it's frustrating, learning is good. So there we have it. Nothing has happened to that. And it's a little bit too bulletproof for my taste, because I write with a variety of papers and do journaling in and out of several notebooks. So, okay. So for tomorrow, oh dear, I went way over on my timing. It's Robert Oster, Fire and Ice, and I anticipate a little more fun tomorrow. So in terms of my daily writing and being with this ink all day long, I definitely am going to enjoy this. But I'm the one that picked these inks for myself. So I will see you tomorrow, and thank you for sticking in here with me. This is kind of a long series, but as you can see, tomorrow is day 24, so then there'll just be, so we got a total of 7 days left, so oh my goodness, it's going fast. I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.